I get frustrated when things don't make sense to me, when things aren't as I think they should be, because if they were, things would be so much better, right? And we all feel that way. So as I'm thinking through the frustrations and I'm thinking through what I'm disappointed about or what I could be disappointed or maybe I'll question even what God's doing or what's going on through this time, especially maybe if the candidate I think should win on Tuesday doesn't. So how do we respond to these things? Do we respond in anger or frustration, questioning what God is doing or even if he is doing anything right now? Here's the quote of that devotional that really has forced me to do some thinking on where my focus is. Paul David Tripp said this, says, "What is God doing in the here and now? He is employing the difficulties of life as tools of grace to produce character in you that you would not grow any other way." I had to rethink that. I had to go back on that thought. I had to process, how am I looking at the frustrations and difficulties and however you want to say that, how am I looking at those things and am I looking at them as God using them as tools of grace to develop me in ways that he may never have had I not go through certain things, or am I looking at them just selfishly in anger and frustration and questioning what God is doing? Do you know that spiritual growth usually does not happen in seasons of peace or comfort or ease? I don't know who said this quote, but I came across it and it said, adversity is not simply a tool. It is God's most effective tool for the advancement of our spiritual lives. The circumstances and events that we see as setbacks are oftentimes the very things that launch us into periods of intense spiritual growth. The problem is, I'm just convinced that a lot of times myself and probably some of you could care less about spiritual growth at that moment in comparison to our peace and our ease and our comfort. So how do we respond to the difficulties of life, the frustrations, the disappointments, the tragedies, the hurts, the heartaches, the temptations and the failures, the rejections and the hurts, and that list could go on and on. Do we get consumed with the difficulties? Or are we concerned and consumed with the God in the midst of the difficulties? Do we ever see beyond the difficulties and the circumstances that are not what we wanted or what we hoped for? And do we see those as opportunities that God can actually use those things in our lives to shape us and grow us to be more like him? Do we ever see beyond what we do not understand because it's not how we would do things or how we would run things? And see that it is God at work to build his kingdom in ways that we can never even begin to fathom. See, I'm convinced that in my own life, maybe you could agree with this as well, how I respond to things totally depends on where my focus is.